Hey guys. So I know it's been a while since I've uploaded any new videos or anything to this channel. As you can see, I'm back uploading again. You may notice I look a little different now than in some of my earlier videos. That's actually because it's 2023 now, and I actually recorded my other videos back in 2018. So there's like a 5 year difference there. So if I look older than I used to be, it's because I am. But I'm glad to be back making some new content on this channel. Before I get into the meat of this video, I'm gonna just say a few words about why I'm back and what I'm trying to do here. If you're not interested in that, here's the timestamp here if you want to skip ahead in the video to where I actually start talking about balanced negs and res critiques. But before I get into those things, I just wanted to talk a little about why I've decided to upload some new videos to this channel. The first reason is as of just today, I think the channel's hit 1,000 subscribers, which may not seem like a lot in the world of YouTube where people have like millions of subscribers. But I want you guys to know that's like an astronomically huge number to me, and I'm really thankful and grateful for all you guys that have supported me. To be honest, when I uploaded these videos to YouTube, didn't really expect anyone to ever watch them, and people are watching them, they're commenting. I've gotten emails from students asking me questions. I've gotten emails from parents and coaches at Christian schools saying that I've helped them, and it's all just really blown me away, and I'm really grateful for all the support and for all you guys watching out there. So yeah, I hit that major milestone of 1,000 subscribers, and I felt like that was kind of meaningful, and was thinking about the channel and talking with some other of my debate friends, and realized that the videos that I have up are mostly for beginners. That's kind of the audience I was targeting. But I realized I have some things I can share in terms of more intermediate and advanced level content. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be starting to record a few more videos covering some more advanced content, not necessarily aimed at beginners. So I have plans currently for 4 new videos, including this one. I'm probably going to upload them weekly for now. If there's a topic that you'd like to see and that you're interested in and you want me to talk about, feel free to leave a comment down below, and with whatever topic you want. And I'm not going to make any promises, but it's possible that I'll turn one of those into a video. So yeah, just wanted to say thank you for all the views and all the for watching my channel, because again, I didn't think anyone would watch any of this, so I'm really blown away and thankful for that. Yeah, so let's jump into the topic for this video now, which is balanced negs and res critiques. So again, this is a bit more of an advanced topic. It's probably still good for beginners to watch, but it is a little more advanced, which is why I didn't include it before. But I guess we should start out with asking, what do I mean by balanced neg and res critique? What do those terms mean? So let's start with balanced neg. Balanced neg and res critique, they're very similar. But let's start off by looking at what a balanced neg is. So a balanced neg is essentially a negative case where instead of, let's see, what's the best way to phrase this? So let's take the current NCFCA resolution, which is resolved rationalism ought to be valued above empiricism. So normally the affirmative would argue for the side of rationalism, and the negative would argue for the side of empiricism in this resolution. A balanced neg is when the negative, instead of valuing empiricism over rationalism, they instead say, no, rationalism and empiricism should be valued equally. That is, I'm not just valuing the negative side of the resolution. I'm not just valuing empiricism. I'm valuing rationalism and empiricism equally. We should have both. And that's my position as the negative. So that's what a balanced neg is. You might be wondering, how is that possible or allowed? Is that legal? And it actually is. And it's kind of like, I think about it kind of like a loophole. So if you think about the words affirmative and negative, so the affirmative's job is to affirm the resolution. So if the resolution is resolved, rationalism should be valued above empiricism, the affirmative has to affirm that. He has to say, yes, rationalism should be valued above empiricism. But there's a little loophole on the negative side of the debate. The negative side has to negate the resolution. So the negative has to say, no, rationalism should not be valued above empiricism. Most people take that to mean empiricism should be valued above rationalism. But another way to say, no, rationalism should not be valued above empiricism is to say, no, that's not correct, because they both should be valued at once. So hopefully that makes sense. But the negative is in this kind of weird position where, due to the wording of the word negate, they technically can negate the resolution by offering up both sides equally. So that's why it's called a balanced neg, because you're on the neg and you're balancing both sides of the resolution, and that's your argument. So it only works on neg. Again, this loophole does not exist for affirmative. If you try to do this as an affirmative, you will lose, because that makes no sense. It's only a loophole sort of for negative. So one of the first things you're probably wondering is, wow, this is a cool idea. Should I do this? Should I run a balanced neg? My answer usually is no. Usually this is not, it depends on who you ask. I usually say that this is not a good idea. There are a couple of reasons for that. One of them is balanced negs can easily confuse judges, especially new judges who've never heard a balanced neg before, that don't know that you can do this. If you present this to them, they, might be caught off guard, not know what to do with it, think that it's illegal, or just because it's so weird, they might just automatically vote against you. So running a balanced neg sometimes is just an automatic loss just in doing that, because the judge is just completely confused and caught off guard by what you're doing. Second reason I don't think you usually should run a balanced neg is there's a pretty good argument that can defeat pretty much any balanced neg, and we're going to get into that. Now, I caveat this with, I'm not saying you should never ever run a balanced neg. If you have a really, really good idea for a balanced neg, and you really think it's going to work and you really believe in it, then there are some cases where you might want to go for it. For example, with this year's NCFCA resolution, again, rationalism should be valued above empiricism. I think, and I read this somewhere and I agree with it, but I think someone in the DFW source book said that probably a lot of people are going to run balanced negs because rationalism and empiricism, even in philosophy, if you study the philosophy, philosophers have said you need both. So, I think you might see a lot of balanced negs for that this year if you're in NCFCA. For the 2024 season. So A, you need to know how to defeat those, but B, if you're thinking about running a balanced neg for this year's resolution, this year it might actually work. I don't know. I would be hesitant to try it, but it might be something to consider if you're really confident in it. But yeah, anyway, that's balanced neg. A res critique, or the more long way of saying that is resolutional critique. That's very similar to a balanced neg. It's the same kind of idea. It takes advantage of the same loophole, but it's kind of the opposite of a balanced neg. So balanced neg says we should hold both of these sides of the resolution. We should value both of them and hold them both equally. A resolutional critique basically says I negate the resolution because the resolution is stupid, and neither of these things should be valued. Or it says this resolution is fundamentally flawed, it can't be debated, it's stupid, and it just throws everything out. It basically attacks the reasoning for debate, saying this whole debate, in essence, is dumb, for lack of a better words. It just tries to throw out the whole debate, either saying that both sides are bad, or that the resolution somehow is flawed and you can't choose, or something like that. So, similar idea, except you're not valuing both sides, you're not really valuing anything. Which is kind of the first problem with a resolutional critique. You're not valuing anything, and Lincoln Douglas is a values debate. So that's, immediately there's a problem there. Again, similar to a balanced neg, if you run a resolutional critique, I think this actually confuses the judges even more than if you run a balanced neg, because you're essentially throwing out the resolution. That's going to confuse them a whole lot. Might also make them mad that you're trying to do that because it sounds so ridiculous, and it is, in my opinion. I've had rounds, I went against a resolutional critique once in my debate career, and that was essentially what happened. The judge was like, this makes no sense, what are you doing? And gave me the win as the affirmative. So I don't really ever recommend doing a resolutional critique. It's, in my opinion, and again, this is kind of controversial, but in my opinion, this is never a good idea. It never makes sense. I don't recommend that you ever do this. So with that out of the way, we should talk about if you run into a balanced neg or a resolutional critique, what should your strategy be as the affirmative to take down those cases and to win against those cases? And the main idea here is this idea that we have in debate of conflict. So let me explain what I mean by that. So a debate is only interesting and meaningful and only has a point if we have this idea that there's some conflict between the two sides of the resolution. So, for example, say that we have some hypothetical resolution resolved. I should get stuffing instead of mashed potatoes for Thanksgiving dinner. In often, many cases, that resolution would be completely pointless and uninteresting if you can just get both mashed potatoes and stuffing. You know, in real life, you would never have that debate over Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, unless you are operating on a very limited budget. But most people can get stuffing and mashed potatoes. So assuming that, you know, you never would have this debate because there'd be no point in debating that. You're just going to get both. It's a pointless debate to have. It's not interesting. On the other hand, say that you're looking to buy a car and you're like, okay, I only have like $25,000 to buy a car. I have to choose a car for myself. The resolution could be resolved. Should I buy the Toyota Camry or the Honda Accord? That's an interesting debate. That's a debate you probably actually might have in real life because you actually have to choose one car or the other. You can't get both. Cars are expensive. You only need one car. You only want one car. That debate is interesting and has a point. What I'm trying to say is you need to have conflict in order to even have a debate. If there is no conflict between the two sides, if you're not required to choose one or the other, what's the point of debating? There is no point in debating. It's completely useless and boring. So anyway, bringing this back to balanced negs and res critiques, the argument that you make as an affirmative against these weird balanced neg res critique cases, the argument that you make is that conflict is implied in the very fact that you're debating these two topics. In other words, it's implied by the fact that you're debating that rationalism and empiricism, you're looking at the two in conflict. You have to choose one or the other. You can't choose both. That's implied in the very fact that you're debating, since without that conflict, the debate would be pointless and boring. So the very fact that you're even having the debate implies you must choose one over the other. It's implied in the very nature of Lincoln-Douglas debate. Choosing both sides are not an option because you have to look at the two sides in conflict. You can also argue that looking at the two sides in conflict is the best way to determine which side is better than the other anyway. If you look at situations where you have to choose rationalism or you have to choose empiricism and you can't have both, thinking about those situations is often how you determine if one side should be valued above the other. So there are a couple different arguments you can make, but basically the argument that you make is we have to look at these two things in conflict. We have to look at these two sides of the resolution when they come into conflict with each other. We have to look at rationalism and empiricism when they're in conflict, and we have to assume you have to choose one or the other. You can't choose both. So this balanced neg proposal that the neg is suggesting, it's not valid. It's not a valid position to take, if we do that, there is no point in us having this debate. So it's implied that that's not supposed to be an option here. And you could also saying that you want to have both, that's kind of the easy way out of the debate, and it's not very interesting. So yeah, that's kind of a brief look at balanced negs and res critiques. That's generally the conflict example argument is what I've seen most of the time against these cases. Usually works. And that can be applied to pretty much any balanced neg or any resolutional critique that's out there. It doesn't matter what the specifics of their argument are, their examples. That argument applies to just the fundamental idea of balanced negs. And so if you're running a balanced neg, you have to consider that argument. I agree with that argument. I don't think there's really a good way to defeat that, which is why, as a negative, I don't think generally it's a good idea to run balanced negs unless you have a really good idea and you're really prepared to defend it. But yeah, that's balanced negs and res critiques. So yeah, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. I'll get to them eventually. Yeah, thanks so much for watching, and glad to be back making videos again.